Howdy, howdy, howdy. Uh, Today I want to talk a little bit about how you can find data on the College of the Desert website. This is mainly for faculty, but if someone else wants to do this, you can do this as well. So from the main College of the Desert page, you click on Faculty and Staff, and then you scroll down here to Institutional Research. Now, there's a lot of stuff you can do here, and I encourage you to go to this website and poke around and just see what you find. But I want to focus on one particular type. So let's go over here to dashboards. And again, there's a lot of different things here. We're going to focus on just this one right here, the Success and Retention 2012-13 to 2020-21. So when you click on that, it opens up a new window. So you might have to disable pop-up blockers if you have them on. Now, there's a lot of great stuff that you can get on here. I'm going to focus really on only two. I'm going to look at this success and retention rates, and I'm going to look at success. There's lots of other things on here, and I encourage you to poke around again, but just kind of FYI, that's all we're going to look at here. So let's first go to here to success and retention rates. So it takes a moment to load because it's actually calculating this stuff based on the data in the institutional research office. So anytime you make a selection in here, it's going to change this. So for example, I'm a math teacher, so let's say I want to see what the success and retention rates are over the years for math and science. So I click on that, and the graph changes. Okay. By the way, this gray line here, this is the enrollments, and as expected, there is a drop in enrollments in the 2019-2020 year because the pandemic hit in spring 2020. So just kind of FYI, you're going to see that drop no matter what you click. So if we go over here to say Applied Sciences and Business, oh, okay, they had a spike. Interesting. But I guess they went, no, wait, no, there we go. 2020, 2021, yeah, it went down there. So it just was a little delayed. Okay, so I'm going to go back to math and science, okay? And let's say I want to focus on math only, because like I said, I'm a math teacher. So I'm going to click here. And now I can see this, again, change. I can even go down to the course. So for example, if I just want to see how people are doing in their linear algebra classes, okay? We get a very different graph than if we had looked at, say, let's do 54 here. Okay, 54 is a elementary algebra or beginning algebra course, and so it's going to have a very different shape than a linear algebra course because linear algebra is a post-calculus course, so the students taking it are a very different population. In any case, it's also a much smaller population. So look at these enrollments. You only have 17, 29, 23. There's usually only one section offered per year. But if we go back to Math 54, the beginning algebra course, we have enrollments in the thousands. So again, with the drop because of the pandemic. There's other things that have caused enrollments in math to drop. We won't get into them in this, but you're going to see it much more pronounced for math than for other subjects. In any case, so let's say I wanted to focus on only 1 year. I can do that. This isn't really the best place to do that, though. So I'm going to unselect that. You just click it again to unselect. And similarly, you can select just a term, but this isn't really the best place to do that. You can separate it by gender. Only female and male are listed here, and that's mainly because any data for students that don't identify as female or male, it's such a small number that for both the privacy of the students, because you can extrapolate a lot of information from that, And also just for the validity of the data, that's not, the statistics on those aren't computed and reported. So if I select female, I'm going to see one. If I select male, I'm going to see another. Notice it does not let me choose more than one. I can't select both of these. So whereas even with some, if I could say, oh, I want to see two groups, it's not going to let me do that. Okay, that's not this kind of a tool. However, if you want to get more than one set, then you can always either click on both and then store them yourself, or you can put in a request to the Institutional Research Office and ask them to make that for you. The last thing I want to say about this particular tool is, in addition to this stuff, you can change how you want it presented. So a lot of times, if you want to see overall trends, you just look at fall only, because things change a lot between fall and spring. But if you see them change between falls, then you have to, then it's going to tell you something very different. Now notice though that this reset everything. So if you want something specific, try to, pick your choice down here first. I don't know why it does it in that order, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. So again, if I want to go to math 54, I got to go through and select these over again. Okay. And then also in this case, there are enrollments listed here, okay, but they're not shown in the graph. Okay, finally, before we go back to the main page, if you click reset, it'll go back to whatever page you're on, whatever setting you are for these buttons here. It just resets anything in here. So if I click a bunch of things in here and then click reset, it just deletes those. Okay. Okay, now to go back to that main kind of landing page, we click on the little home button. Okay, and that was success and retention rates. Let's go over here and look at disproportionate impact. That really only corresponds to these two, the success and retention. This one, it doesn't. This is not really in the right place, but I didn't put it there, so you can't blame me. So I'm going to click on success here. And so this time there's no graphs. Of course, you can put this into your own graphs if you want. That's fine. I'm not going to talk about necessarily what all this data is, and not data, what all these statistics are, in terms of what the nuances are for disproportionate impact and whatnot. That's for a different time. But I'll just kind of give you the main ideas. So first of all, again, you can select some subset. So if you just want to know what about classes on the Palm Desert campus, I'll select math again. I'll select that here. And let's do trigonometry this time. Okay. And then I can narrow it down to years. So remember before I said it wasn't a good place in the previous one to look at just 1 year at a time. This is the one that's much better about looking at 1 year at a time. So for example, if I look at 2016, 2017, okay, this gives me a lot more information in that year than otherwise. But I'm going to look at all years just so that I have more data. Because the more you narrow it down, the fewer rows you're going to have. And the reason why is because, again, they're not going to have reported statistics for groups that have a very small number of students, again, both for the meaningfulness of the statistics themselves, but also due to the fact that if you only have, say, 10 students in a group and the success rate is really low, say like 5%, well, then that's giving you information about those 10 students. And that's not really appropriate. So the more you narrow it down, the fewer students are going to be in each group, and the more likely you're going to have groups that are missing in these presentations here, in these tables. So you'll notice some of these are highlighted in red. Those are the disproportionately impacted groups. So what this means is, for example, over here, the African American students, notice that they have a lower success rate than the total. Now technically the way this is calculated is it's compared to not the full total but the total minus that group. So you would have the success rates of these 50 students, and you compare that to the success rates of the 2,934 students that are not African American students. And the 24% is significantly lower than this group, so that there is a disproportionate impact. And this gap here says, this is telling you if 8 more African American students could succeed in their courses, then that will eliminate the disproportionate impact. Again, I'm not going to go into any details as to the statistical reasons why, but notice that it's lower for this group. It's a lower success rate, but they're not highlighted, and the reason is because of this small enrollment. The lower the enrollment, the more margin of error you're going to have in these statistics. And so even though this is a low number, it could be due to chance, and therefore we can't say it's a disproportionate impact. It doesn't mean we should ignore those students. Of course we shouldn't. But it just means that that statistically we can't say that, oh, these students are, struggling compared to others overall. Okay. So the last thing about this page is if you want to see the special populations, you click down here. That does, again, reset everything here. So if I want to go back to, let's see, I had selected the Palm Desert campus, I had selected math, and I had selected trigonometry, I believe. Okay. And so the special populations are veteran students, disabled students, low socioeconomic status students, LGBT students, and foster youth students. Now, in this group, we only have one that has a disproportionate impact. Again, though, that doesn't mean that you would ignore all other groups. It just means that there's more of an issue here. So you would want to maybe focus some services for your DSPS students, which is the Disabled Students Program and Services. The LGBT, notice that in the heading here it says LGBTQ, but in the labels down here it says LGBTQIA+. Really, both of these should just be LGBT because it's based on data where they only ask students about whether they're homosexual, bisexual, transgender. It doesn't include a lot of the other stuff it doesn't include students that say, for example, are intersex, right? That's the I in LGBTQIA+. So they're not actually included in this data, so these really should all be LGBT. Okay, so again, I can click reset and go back to the original where nothing is selected. At any time, you can click this I and get some information. It may or may not make sense depending on how comfortable you are with the terminology. You'll notice there's little buttons here that basically just cycles through all the different dashboards we have. So instead of going back to here and clicking on things, you could actually just start with the first one. The very first page is this page, okay? And you can just cycle through them and look at them that way. Okay, well, that covers everything I wanted to talk about. I hope you found this helpful.